Ladies and gentlemen, my Reese's coffee literally jumped out of the refrigerator at me and said, "Drink me, you fool!" So I'm going to have it with some Titanic alcohol. And we're going to answer the question, does unconditional love truly exist? Unconditional love is love that no matter what somebody does, you still love them. I believe that my grandmother unconditionally loved her son, my father. This is amazing. It's just, it's nutty. It has a beautiful flavor to it. The undertones of the Titanic herbs are just coming out. This is really good. Anyway, so unconditional love, is it doesn't matter what somebody does, you still love them. I once met a woman who said her boyfriend beat up her grandmother. So she had her friends beat the crap out of him. And then she said, "But I still love him." Now, I'm not a man who had much love for my grandmother. I literally walked away from my grandmother because I couldn't take the stuff coming out of her mouth anymore. It was like, okay, you shut up now. I walk away because I can't take what's coming out of your mouth. If I sit here, I'm going to knock this woman's teeth out, and she ain't got any teeth anymore anyway, so I'm walking away from this situation because my family demonstrated repeatedly that the only thing they understood was violence. Okay, but, it's like my father was very abusive. Not physically so much, although he got into a lot of fist fights with my brother. He didn't get in fist fights with me because he said he was afraid. I was a pretty big kid. And, for the most part, I wasn't very present. I was sick. I spent most of my life, early life, sleeping. And then, finally, my father, I believe when I was 22, my father wanted to get into a fist fight with me. But he realized what a bad idea that was. But, it's like, when I was 26 years old, my father was crying about something that happened when I was 3. He said that I wanted to sleep with my mother, and I wet the bed, and that was what ended the marriage. This makes my father a vagina. Not like a human vagina, because those are awesome. I mean like, a rotten vagina. Like, if a zombie has a vagina, if it's a female zombie, he'd be a zombie vagina. I mean, smells bad, wet, and can't take a lot of punishment. Thing would get tore up pretty easy. I had a cat. Very short amount of time I had him. I don't know what was wrong with him. But He seemed fine. I called him Davy. And one day, he couldn't walk. His hind legs stopped working. But he still wanted to sit in my lap. He loved being around me. He loved me so much that, I'd pick him up or he'd claw his way up my leg. And, after a while, it got to the point where Davy peed all over me. And at that point, I would wrap Davy in a shirt. And, it's like that's just what I would do. I would get a big towel or a shirt, and I would just wrap him up, and he'd pee in that. And, he'd sleep on my chest and pee on me. And then in the morning, I would go and I would change all my bedding, and I'd wash it every day because Davy peed on it. And, Davy just got worse and worse until he died. I don't think he was 6 months old. I mean, I had him since he was a kitten. One day he got out. I didn't notice. I heard this scramble sound. I came outside and there was a coyote. Coyote had attacked Davy. Didn't seem to do any damage. But there was blood coming out of Davy's mouth. Okay? I don't know if that had anything to do with it. It may not have. Alright? But I kept Davy until he died. And when he died, I buried him. I had unconditional love for Davy. He would have had to have been pretty nasty for me to ever... I mean, it's like, yeah, he peed on me, but it wasn't his fault. And I mean, he wasn't trying to hurt me. He was just a cat. Something floating in there. So, a lot of us have unconditional love in our lives. Some of us because we're selfish and we're bad people, ironically. You look at, say, Eric Cartman from South Park. His mother will give him whatever he wants. And they call that love. Doesn't matter how nasty Eric is to her, still loves him. Yeah, unconditional love exists. It can be pretty nasty at times, but it's real. Anyway, that's just my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours in the comments below. I'm Richard. Danger Ducky says it is now time for you to comment, like, and subscribe, and support this channel so we can do things like save the world by removing trash from the ocean, planting trees, and feeding orphans. Danger Ducky approves.